So maybe it's your first tournament and you're wondering what's the best game plan to maximize your chances of winning the tournament. Or maybe you've already competed and you didn't quite do as well as you had hoped, so you're looking for a better way to approach planning. So the reality is often trying to have an exact game plan for your tournament is going to end up being more detrimental than helping you. So first I'm going to go through the negative components of trying to make an exact game plan for a tournament, and then I'm going to give you a much better way to approach trying to prepare and maximize your chances at winning the tournament. So first off, when I say making a game plan for a tournament, what I'm referring to is when people try to have an exact set of techniques or strategy that they're going to implement and they visualize and they try to force during the match. The first main problem with this is that most game plans are not enforceable. You have to understand that techniques only work when they're used at the right moment versus the correct body positioning. For example, if I'm in closed guard and I want to go for an armbar, it's my favorite submission, but my opponent puts both of his arms behind his back and he leans backward, I can't do an armbar. I have to go for a collar choke or maybe a hip bump sweep. So if you have a favorite guard position, let's say you like to play De La Riva guard where you control your opponent's leg with your hand on their ankle, that may be your favorite guard. You study it, you prepare, you go into the tournament and you pull guard and your opponent goes to both knees. Now you can't control the ankle. Or you may go in and you're planning on playing your guard and then your opponent pulls guard and he refuses to go on top. So you can't know beforehand what your opponent's gonna do. So almost always whatever you chose to make your game plan, your opponent can respond in a way that makes that impossible. Another example would be if you like to play guard controlling your opponent's sleeve with your left hand and playing collar sleeve on that side, but your opponent leads with the other leg and the opposite side sleeve is forward, then you're going to be out of play and you can't reach that and you get stuck in this chasing loop. So not only is this less effective, but one of the real damages of this is that it brings you out of a present state. If you're already planning on doing a certain move or a certain guard position before the match starts, and then the guy doesn't give you the response that makes that possible, you get stifled in your head. You're chasing for the position, like, where is it? I'm supposed to do it, and it's not there, and you're less likely to observe what's actually there. If your opponent approaches you and gives you the body position that makes a triangle choke relevant, but you're stuck in your head looking for the armbar that you pre-planned to do, you are way less likely to identify the move that actually is relevant for that moment. Additionally, this can cause a negative thought cycle. If you go in with a really well thought out plan and you try to execute it and the person gives a different response, when it doesn't work, you start to panic because you go off of your game plan, and this can lead into a negative thought cycle, making you think you did something wrong because you weren't able to execute the game plan, when in reality, there's nothing you can do that would force him to give you the response that would have made it relevant. Okay, so if making an exact game plan is bad, what should you do instead? First, you need to understand that how you act under high stress is the real demonstration of what your jiu-jitsu actually is. You don't have time in the middle of a fight to be thinking, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, he's doing that. You just have to trust your instincts and go with the moment. I made this analogy in my last video talking like this. The way I like to think about it is like jumping in slow motion. You can do everything technically correct to jump, but if you do it slowly, you won't go in the air. And jiu-jitsu is the same way. An armbar may work, but if you do it slowly, your opponent's gonna defend. If your body gives you a certain response and you try to second guess it, even if you come up with a better choice of move in that moment, you're gonna be so delayed in your action time that it won't work. So you're best off going with your instincts in the moment and trusting that that's the best thing you could have done at that time. Of course, you're going to make really bad choices, but that's the purpose of training. When you're in the training room back at the gym, that's when you're trying to adapt your pattern recognition to make good choices. So you should be using your regular sparring in the gym to be reprogramming your patterns so that you get better at it. And when you're in tournament, you just have to trust that what comes out of you is the best thing it could be. That doesn't mean you're always going to win. Of course, sometimes you're going to make bad choices and lose, and you correct those back in the gym. The way I always say it is, if your skill level is a 6 out of 10, you can't think yourself into being a 10 out of 10, but you can certainly think yourself into being a 4 out of 10. You can always overthink things and make yourself perform worse. But if you don't know the right thing, you can't think yourself into being better than you are. So in jiu-jitsu terms, this means really investing in understanding common positions. The hard thing is in the beginning, there's so many positions to learn, it's hard to know what to focus on. So if you're newer, you want to focus on positions that you know matter the most. Worm guard, heel hooks, berimbolos, that's all cool stuff, but those are way later on. First off, learning to defend your guard with you having no grips is a skill set that's always going to matter. If you can learn to be on your back, have no grips, and just pushing and pulling and not holding any particular guards, and you can learn to defend that way, then when you go into a tournament, you'll always be prepared for your opponent trying to pass you. Likewise, if you focus on when you're in a triangle choke, knowing how to finish it. When you're in bottom of side control, knowing how to escape it. When these positions occur, your brain will go, oh, that's right, I know where I am, I know what to do. As you troubleshoot a lot of positions, of course it's going to benefit you a lot to know common guard positions. If you're doing gi, double sleeve, collar sleeve, de la hiva, there's only so many grip sets. So as you expand your knowledge base in these different positions, then when you're fighting and one of these positions appear, you'll know what to do. If I'm playing in my guard and my opponent stands close to me and I grab his ankle and I've already studied the position of de la hiva holding the ankle, I'll know what to do. But if someone else approaches me and they have their legs back and they're coming forward with their hands, then I can't grab the ankle, so I grab the sleeve instead. But if I've invested a lot of time in understanding collar sleeve or double sleeve or sleeve control positions, I'll know what to do there. So you take the positions as they appear and you build forward.